now. I thought we were already live.
Nah, I was just waiting to make sure our audio was good and everything, but we are live now.
All
But yeah,
right. What is up, everybody?
this one's gonna be a banger, and it's so weird. This podcast is so weird because everything I normally don't have this good of luck, but every single one of the podcasts I've done for this one has been like perfect timing. Because you were supposed to be on a couple weeks ago, and then shit happens, like no big deal at
Yeah.
all. But it ended up being the day after your fight,
Yep.
which is
Perfect, man.
which is awesome.
I believe in Providence a lot.
And it doesn't normally happen to me, so it was serendipitous to say the least. But
Yep. You are the first person to receive my full stream attention.
appreciate it though. I do appreciate you
I
coming
got you,
on,
man.
especially after that banger of a fight. That was a hell of a show, and I pointed out to Eric when we were watching it. For those of you who didn't see, Sosa here had just an incredible first round victory, tail end of the first round too. I thought you were gonna like back up a bit and just let the round end. Nope.
Nope. I was baiting him. Like yeah, you were calling it. You were just like, oh, I'm not sure if he's got. I wasn't sure if it was you, but someone said, I'm not sure if he's got. He's like, nah, he's just waiting. I was biding my time. I was waiting for that right opportunity, waiting for them leg kicks to add up.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. I've been practicing that move, that calf kick and that spinning. I had originally planned a spinning elbow, but then I saw he backed up into the fence, so I just let the arm go a little bit more.
Oh my god, that is so hilarious that you say that, because if you watch the stream, I'm telling Eric, I was like, yeah, man, you got the back fist is underrated. The spinning back fist is underrated because it's like a
momentum.
Well, and it's like a whip too. Like for a knockout blow, it's nasty as you saw, because it's like I said, it's just like a whip. Like, and if you catch them in the right place, that just jars the brain. Not a lot of people understand. That's how you knock somebody out.
Yeah, bro. Like, and it's interesting. You'll hear a lot of fighters say this, that I intended to do it. I made the choice to do it in that moment. But whenever I did it, I stopped. Once I had executed the thought to do it in my head, it all flowed from the body. And everyone always says that almost every knockout they ever get is all a natural flow of their body that they don't even halfway intend to do. It's just part of a combination that they've done every day. Bam, bam, bam. And that's how it happened. I swear to God, I felt nothing in my forearm. I still feel nothing in my forearm at all. My ankle, when I was kicking him, is the one, that part that's actually sore, but there's nothing in my arm because it naturally flowed.
It was perfect. Yeah. So one quick question. You don't have to answer this, but we have a theory. Were you invited to do commentary for the main event because of how good that fight was, or was that planned?
Yes, sir. Yes, I was. Unfortunately, the UFC fighter, he is an official UFC fighter who fought just a couple weeks ago named Joseph Holmes. He had to go on some sort of emergency, and so they had me fill in.
That's hilarious. So I was like, I got it. And like, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, and it's like, you're the only person we knew on the card, obviously, but I got to say, like, main event, very close second, but you had the fight of the night. You certainly had the highlight of the night.
Appreciate. Oh yeah, the highlight for sure, man. Yeah. And the promoters afterwards, they were so happy with me. They were like, because there were some promoters on there, and I'm not dogging them. It's just some miscommunications and some wrong thoughts and stuff like that. They were like, I don't know if Andrew Sosa is exciting as he used to be. I was just like, because I had one fight against Chad Box, and the decision got overturned anyway, so I still got to keep that good part on my record. But I fought him, and it was a very close fight. But I was fighting, and I had the thought in mind to protect my brain. I was like, I'm gonna try to be more healthy. I'm gonna try to keep my hands out and not get hit too much. And I hated the way I fought. I absolutely hated it, and it made me not do as well as I could have. And ever since then, I was like, I don't care. I'm going old school brick wall, and I do not give an F anymore.
That's something that, and like, before I say this, like, nowhere near Sosa's level. I have fought competitively, but not like that. It's Taekwondo shit.
Okay.
But
Taekwondo still has its place.
Oh, 100%, but not even close to the caliber that you, or the level that you're at. But it's funny you mention that, because that's true. Because I remember there was, and I don't know why he did that. My old Taekwondo instructor decided one summer when I was like 17, he was like, "You're gonna be my national champion this year," and I was like, "Me?" Because I'm a terrible fighter, so I didn't know where this was coming from. But so I loved the training, man. It was a lot of fun. But he changed up, and again, full disclaimer, I'm a shit fighter. I'm not good. But he changed up the way I normally did things, and it's just like you said, it was completely fucked. Like, it might have been a smarter way to go.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work.
No, there is a quote from Baka the Grappler, which we all know is my favorite anime ever. Everybody on his channel, if you haven't seen Baka the Grappler, it's only the best anime ever made, especially if you appreciate martial arts. So you better check that out. But it's even in the dub. It's not in the original sub. It's a dub line, but it's so true. And when I really came to understand this and I came to own my own style and then become what I became in that fight you just witnessed with Josh Neely. He said, it's not about how well you can master martial arts. It's about the martial art that you can best master. And I'm like, bro, yes. I am never going to be Floyd Mayweather-esque. It is not within me, no matter how much I practice. I will get hit at some point because it's within my nature. I am never going to be the fastest. I got a lot of power, as you can see, but I'm never going to be super technical, super speed, or anything like that. But this whole training camp, I did not have a home gym. The best fight highlight reel of my career, I didn't even have a home gym. All I did was go to other gyms and spar and spar and spar, do a little mitts, do a little running, spar. I did it my way and look at the results. Yeah, if you have a way about you, own that, become the best at it.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, despite the fight speaks for itself, there were first of all, the entire card was really good. I had not heard
Everybody was going after it.
Yeah, I'd not heard of XKO before, but I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to get the next pay-per-view because I was legitimately impressed. Like, I've seen some, and I'm not trying to shit on UFC, but, like, I've seen some UFC and Bellator pay-per-views in the past, and sometimes, like, some of the fights, it's not even that they're bad, it's just kind of like, they're all so similar.
They're trying to take care of their record.
Yeah, they kind of just blend together. But every single card, and I love it when promotions do this, because like this is what would intrigue me about One Championship when they first broke on the scene. It's like,
love them.
Yeah, first bout's MMA, second bout Muay Thai, third bout kickboxing. I love that because it's different. And
even some jiu-jitsu matches.
Yeah, in one, yeah. I don't know, does XKO do straight jiu-jitsu?
No, but they thought about it.
Yeah. They would
only have to be able to do like one, maybe two per card, and they would have to adjust the rules so to make it extra exciting because people aren't going to tolerate very much boring for very long. But I know lots of good jiu-jitsu players out there.
Yeah, there were a couple of fights where they actually forced them to stand, and Eric was even like, "Did he submit?" I'm like, "No, I think they just are breaking it up because it's like nobody's able to get a good position."
Yep, exactly. They did that in the main event, which was a good decision.
Yeah. Which I was going to say at the time, I think I said this, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, the fans are here for action, and you're much more likely to get the ending of a fight much quicker and instead of someone just laying and praying.
Yeah, 100%. There was a point I was going to make, but whenever I get on a podcast, my brain just shuts down, like half of it does.
Yeah, that happens to everybody, bro.
It's so bad. But yeah, the whole card was stellar. And mixing it up really made it so like you didn't get MMA fatigued.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but there was lots of good slams on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the guy's name, but I'm officially a fan of his. I've only seen him around, only maybe said hi to him a couple times. But that dude he was before me with the red and blue and white hair, dude, he got slammed. I don't remember everything, but apparently he got injured by a slam or something like that.
He dislocated his shoulder.
Right arm. And the dude, the mother effer, finished him TKO with the most vicious ground and pound I've ever seen with one working arm and still knocked him out with that one arm. I was like, dang.
Oh, you want to know
brick wall levels of savagery right there.
Well, you want to know what's even better? He dislocated it in a slam, couldn't tell. And then when they ended the round, they showed him in his corner and they're putting his socket back in. They're putting his shoulder back in.
And after the fight, no disrespect, because this is all respect. I applaud him so much for this, but he was in a cast and everything at the end.
Oh no, they showed him after the fight. He was in pain.
Yeah,
but I think he dislocated it a second time.
Oh,
I think I'm not. Yeah.
Oh, those are the worst. Sometimes when they try to fix the shoulder, they make it worse. Sometimes.
Yeah, but it's like for the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, but that dude's a savage, man. I love that. That's the type of stuff I like to see right there.
But I mean, it was virtually every fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Delmer
is
Pierce, the co-main event, finished Jeremy Hudson the first round. I like them both, but I've actually trained with Delmer at Next Generation quite a few times. And the Emmanuel one, the main event, I honestly thought he was going to win because that dude's striking is on. Ooh, bro, I wouldn't want to fight him. I'm not saying that I couldn't beat him, but I wouldn't want to try.
we actually made a bet for the main event, and I don't know why. I just saw the look on the Vanilla Gorilla's face.
That's a great nickname.
I know. I just saw the look on his face. I saw, like, it's not that both of them were fairly relaxed, but he just had this look on his face, like he was just going to go out there. He had a plan and he was going to do it, and he did it. And I mean,
he also made adjustments in the second round, like you probably heard me announcing that he readjusted his wrestling and jiu-jitsu game, so Emmanuel stopped getting up, and I was like, man, this dude's good.
Well, because Emmanuel's got such long legs, like a lot of the stuff that he was counting on just didn't work.
Right. Like it just didn't seem that he was able to adjust his game plan the way the other person was. He relied too much on the kicks, and it's hard because Emmanuel has a great knockout reel, bro. Like when he first came on the scene, he did a flying knee knockout to a wrestler all the same way. And you could tell he's always looking for that. And, you got to be able to adjust some.
Yeah, 100%. But speaking of martial arts, as we've been, so when and where and how did you get started in martial arts?
Well, my dad completely disavows this kind of thing, and rightfully so. For him, he's a very religious man. But when he was younger, he was all into all the old school martial arts. So I had grown up with knowing that he had a little bit of fondness for them, and I was bullied heavily in high school. And I'm just going to go ahead, since this is a long form podcast, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you some story because this is going to be really funny for everybody. I was homeschooled for the first few years of my life in public school until I was about 8 years old. And then I went into second grade for the first time elementary school. And God bless my parents. When I was in second grade, I was already at a college level reading level, like no cap. Like my mom taught me how to do math, everything so good. I was so whipping smart. And because she worked full time, my dad worked his tail off, went to school at night and worked full time at a payroll job. We had one car and everything like that. They weren't doing that. It was hard, but man, they both hustled and my mom taught me well. So props to them for that. That being said, they were both extremely the cliche religious conservative type of people. And they had no sense of any type of fashion to be able to give me. The first outfit I ever wore to my school was John Stockton. You better know that NBA player, short shorts. I mean, that level of short shorts, gray short shorts, a gray polo 3-button down shirt like I'm wearing here, but it didn't even cover all of my torso. There was like part of my belly button almost hanging out. So I really looked like I was from the 70s and 80s, like hardcore. I thought they were cool back then. I had ABC shoelaces because I thought that was what was cool back then. And they were all making fun of me. Oh, you don't even know your ABCs. You have to keep them on your shoes so you can remember them. And I was bullied so hard, man. I mean, physically bullied all the way, like almost daily, like getting kicked in the balls, getting punched, everything. And my parents, of course, being the religious conservative people they tried everything, talking to the teachers, talking to the principals, trying to get me to, laugh at the jokes, everything that you could possibly think of. They tried to do it right. So after about a year of this, my dad, he gets that old school martial arts look in his eye. Because he did all the dangerous stuff, the kung fu, and there isn't an application of that. You don't see a lot of that nowadays because we have all the current martial arts now, but it works good against everyday Joes, But he said, Andrew, the next time that there's one kid in particular named Corey bullies you, the next time Corey bullies you, I want you to get your fist and I want you to sock him in the nose as hard as you can. So a couple of days later, he did that. Boom! He gets a call from the principal. He's just like, your son. He's just like, I have nothing for that. Come home, Andrew. You're good. And he patted me on the back. That's a good boy. And ever since then, I've had a not only a fascination with martial arts, but I also had a lot of psychology issues to work through, trying to get past that bullying and trying to get everyone's approval. Because when I went through 2nd to 4th grade, going through that, then I homeschooled again, 5th and 6th grade. And then, oh my God, I can't believe I'm telling everybody this, but this is funny, bro. This is funny. You're going to like this story. One day when I was in 6th grade near the end, and I knew I was about to go to middle school, for 7th and 8th grade, I knew I had done something wrong and I was going to get in trouble. So I snuck a radio into my room one day because I knew I was going to school and I had to prepare how to be popular. So I had to at least know what the music was like and everything. And that was the first time I ever really listened to hip hop music ever. Turned on 97.9. It's a Texas radio station. And I heard the first hip hop song I ever heard was in the 7th grade. It's called White Tees by them Franchise Boys. And that beat, I was like, yeah, this is cool. And so I go to school and I ask, hey, where are all the people who listen to this kind of music? And they point them over there where all the black people are and a few Mexicans and stuff like that. And they felt sorry for me. They felt pity on me, like, come here, bro. Well, we'll take you under our wing, you poor boy. You know?
Like a lost puppy, like a little lost puppy.
I would, yeah, exactly. I essentially turned into a wannabe B-Rabbit on 8 Mile kind of dude. You know, wearing the fake silver and gold chains and the tall tees with the southpaw sagging shorts and everything, just trying to be a wannabe, you know, gangster and everything. Oh, that was such a bad time in my life. That I look so ridiculous looking back. But I started lifting weights because I was a very tall kid. When I was 11, I was the same height. I'm 5'11" now, and I was the same height ever since I was 11 years old. Big. I thought I was going to be a monster. No, I kept on waiting to keep growing and keep growing. No, I topped off right there, unfortunately, and then saw everyone else grow past me. But I started lifting weights, and you know, I was playing basketball, so no one really messed with me that hard. I just didn't know anything about anything still, and then that worked all the way up. And whenever I had left home, I had disassociated from my religion at that point. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and I had left that. And I had a daughter. And the reason I left that is because I was having a daughter. I was conceiving a child out of marriage. And now I know that's definitely not something anyone ever wants to do. Don't y'all dare do that. That's not a good idea. Although, you know, my daughter knows I would never trade her for anything in the world. But I said to myself, what can I do that doesn't take 8 years of college and I can make some money doing at least halfway soon. And that I don't want to kill myself every day. You know, I want to enjoy what I do. Well, let's try an MMA gym. Let's walk in there. I know some martial arts. Oh man, I didn't know nothing about nothing. The old school martial arts didn't help me against the pros.
Oh God, I got a story to tell you about that. I feel your pain on that one. But so you go to the MMA. Well, okay, so I'll just dissect it. So I trained in several traditional martial arts since I was 8 years old, karate, taekwondo mostly, but I did a little bit of, like a very, very little bit of judo, tiny bit, but mostly karate and taekwondo. And
a lot of people don't know that if you have a well-executed judo throw hurts more than any punch.
I said in the, when we were watching the fights, I said, man, if you've got solid, like Muay Thai, for example, for striking, you've got some jiu-jitsu skills, and if you incorporate judo in there, you're a wrecking crew.
Oh yeah, Ronda Rousey all day.
Exactly. Ronda Rousey, originally a judoka, and then she got into MMA and trained on the other stuff, the stand-up fighting and then the grappling aspect. But anyway, so at this point, I can't remember. I think I've got my first degree black belt in Taekwondo at this point. So, you know, you get your black belt, you think you're hot shit, right? And then we went to this seminar where we went for the Kung Fu, but there was another guy there who was teaching this weird thing called Kali, and we stuck around for that because they had sticks, and we thought that looked cool. Now,
that's a Filipino art, I believe.
Oh, Kali's fucking sick. But so we came for the Kung Fu, actually, that seminar, and I say I'm not a good fighter, but I have pretty decent kicks, Taekwondo, right?
Yeah, well, you can have really good weapons, you can know the moves and everything, but fighting is also a mentality, and a lot of people just don't have that, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you have that mentality, you're crazy. So that's nothing. You know, you're normal.
Yeah, there's another one I'm going to touch on. But so the guy is saying, he's like, throw a kick, and I throw like a light kick for demonstration, and he said, no, throw a kick. And I was like, okay, so I give him a little bit more, and he said, no, kick me. And I go, are you sure? And he said, yes, I'm sure. And I was, okay. So I gave him probably about 60%. And he did his block thing, but I was just like, yeah, no. If I was trying to wreck your shit with that kick, that's not going to work. But anyway, you know, we see the demonstration. We remain unimpressed. But then the Kali guy comes up, and very similar. He's like, throw a punch. So same thing, throw a punch. And then I give him about a 60%, and he slaps it away, like kind of frustrated. He said, no, punch me in the chin. So I went, all right. So I'm not fucking around with this one. I throw a solid, close to full power punch right at his chin, and the next thing I know, I'm on my ass with a handkerchief wrapped around my wrist, and I don't know how the fuck I got there. Because it happened so goddamn fast. And he was like, you want to see that slower? And I was like, yes, please. So then I did Kali and Silat for a number of years after Taekwondo, because I never felt so humbled before in my life.
Bro, yes, that's exactly how it was when I came into the MMA gym. Like my favorite martial art of choice whenever I was doing the old school stuff was Aikido.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So I knew how to toss some dudes around, and I had in the day, you know, back when I was a teenager, I had. But no, it doesn't work against anyone with a sense of balance, not at all. So I remember just being a few days in, maybe 2 or 3 days in at the MMA gym, and God bless his soul, the dude's name was Mike. He was already a professional, and he didn't make anything of it. Like, he just did it for a little while as a hobby and then moved on with his life. But so he wasn't even a hardcore. He was just, you know, good. But he was just sparring with me. He was a ground guy. It wasn't even his specialty. We were standing up sparring, and I know he only did it to maybe 10% of what he actually could have. But one time he faked a punch at me. I tried to cover up, and you know what they had taught me, and then he sweeps my leg. Just one of them. Boom, and I fall completely flat on my back. Boom.
Oh, and you don't know how to fall yet either.
Didn't know how to fall yet or anything, and that was my humbling moment. I was like, oh, I have to keep doing this.
I'm telling you, there's one of two reactions when that happens to somebody, and you and I had the same reaction. It was like, oh, I feel so shitty, but I got to learn how to do this.
Yes. Most people just leave.
Yeah, most people just leave. They don't want anything. So the other story, a really humbling moment. There's because I don't know if you know this, I train in Krav Maga now. There's a Krav Maga gym up in Fishers, which is really my speed because I'm a terrible competition fighter. I like to fight dirty.
Yeah.
I have zero qualms.
Jews, they have to, you know?
Yeah, I got zero qualms. Zero qualms kicking a motherfucker in the nuts.
No, not at all. I mean, when you're in an actual fight, take your eye out. No, I won't even think twice about it.
Yeah, Junior's favorite thing is eye gouges. But anyway, so they don't even call it, they have a jiu-jitsu class, but they go over jiu-jitsu stuff. They just call it ground fighting because that's what it is. We're in their ground sparring, and there's this guy who is about, I think he's 26, 27 at the time, and I'm 35, so he's a little bit younger than me. Much more athletic. But he's relatively new at the school. Like, I think he had just moved to the area. But we're ground sparring, and he's so much better than me that it's to the point where he'll have me in a position, and then he's telling me what to do to get out of it.
Yep.
Super nice guy. I love ground sparring with him because I get way better every time I do. But after a particularly taxing round where he was just toying with me, I just looked him dead in the eye, and I'm like, can you at least like make me feel better and tell me you've been doing this for like 10 years? And he was like, no, I've only been training for about 6 months. I was like, motherfucker.
A dedicated 6 months, though, makes the hell of a difference.
Well, but that goes into what you mentioned before, too, because at this point, I'd been doing it for about 2.5 years. And I mean, I'm serious about it. I'm just not, I don't have that inherent talent that some people have. And this guy does. He's just inherently a good fighter. And it is what it is.
There is such thing as some people being born for it and some people who are not. It's a real thing.
He has all those instincts. He has the natural athletic ability. He just has that sense of being able to control his body and know how to. He has a plan, and his body does it, and he doesn't. It just isn't complicated for him. Meanwhile, people like me have lead in their ass, and it's just kind of like it's so much more difficult to progress. But a lot of people ask me, they're like, "Well, then why do you do it?" I'm like, well, I can either suck and try to get better, or I can just suck.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
whenever you learn those things, finally, you learn them good.
That's very true, because there's a couple of things. I sneak out a couple of the old Taekwondo techniques every once in a while. It's because I learned them good. I have very few weapons, but...
Yeah. I mean, but natural abilities is completely legit. Like, I love jiu-jitsu. I think jiu-jitsu is an extremely phenomenal art, but I have no natural talent for it whatsoever. Yeah, none at all. And I have even less for wrestling. I don't even really think I have much of a striking thing either, but I was born with the world's hardest body, the world's hardest chin. I have no knockout switch within me. It just doesn't exist. And that's something that you're born with. You're never going to be able to replicate that.
Well, it was funny because during your fight, I don't know. I felt really smart because I could tell exactly what you were doing with those leg kicks.
Yeah, you knew.
With those leg kicks, and Eric's like, I'm like, oh no, I said, watch, he's making him think about coming in. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, later in that first round, he was thinking about going in, but he didn't want to get another one of those calf kicks.
Yeah, being tall is great, and being tall is always the best advantage to have, a long reach and everything in any fight. But there are advantages to being a little bit shorter and everything too. Them skinny ass legs, ain't gonna have no meat to protect them.
Nope, not at all. But that's you just brought that something. So I think there's a misconception about martial arts out there that a lot of non-martial artists have, and that's that technique will bridge that gap, and it will to a point. But let's be real here. If you've got a guy or a girl, a girl's a better example. If you got a girl that's 5'2", mm-hmm. and she could be a legit badass, like trained for years, this, that, and the other, professional. If a guy comes up to her who's 6'6", jacked to the gills, and doesn't have a knockout switch like you, I'm not saying she can't win. But
that's the big depending. If he has no skills, that girl is going to win.
Okay, so maybe a professional is not a good way. Maybe somebody who's just been training for some time. Because I'll tell you right now, there's been guys, and keep in mind, very little natural talent here, but I've had the benefit of been doing it for a long time. There's guys that come in on their first days, and I can just tell them, like, oh, I wouldn't want to get hit by this motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But all you had to do is wait, 15 to 30 seconds maximum.
That's true.
Keep your hands up and boom, they were going to be too tired to do anything. I guarantee you, if the dude had no skills, even if he was a naturally gifted competitor, the professional girl, even if she just had a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, she would still kick his ass.
I was going to say professional was probably not the right choice, because you're absolutely right, especially if she's higher end Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, yeah.
But if you gave that man 6 months, no more than a year, but if you gave that man 6 months of training, he would absolutely whoop her.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So it just depends very much on the thing. Because I'm telling you, bro, I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with multiple women world champions. And I love nothing more than for those women to beat up on me, in Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I think that level of skill, that level of accomplishment, I take such pride in those women. I really do. I'm like, that is so freaking cool that you can do that. That to me is just amazing. I love seeing that. It's not even humbling for me because I don't think I'm going to beat them at it. But just the fact that they can, I'm just like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu is a whole different animal, man. Because strength has a bit to do with it, but it's a totally different animal.
Well, yeah, the last one I went with, by the way, this girl, I forget her name. I had her on my old Facebook. My Facebook got deleted, but she is also the prettiest girl you've ever seen in your life. Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of pretty women that do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, absolutely. But she rolled with me, and my muscle saved me for about 4 minutes. But after she figured me out, man, she tapped me like 3 times in 3 minutes.
Hell of a workout.
Figured it out.
Yeah, hell of a workout too is jiu-jitsu. That's people who've never done it before, because the first time you roll, it surprises the hell out of you, because it doesn't look like a lot's going on, but
yeah, they don't have a clue.
Oh no,
not at all. And that level of exhaustion your first time, bro, you just like, the first time you ever feel a choke. I remember the first time I ever felt a halfway decent choke. I'm not kidding. I didn't even pass out, but he just cranked on me for a little while. And it wasn't even the best choke ever, but it was applying some. I went blind in my left eye for about 5 hours and had the most, the worst hangover you've ever had. It's not even close. My head was searing from it. Like, it was horrible.
Yeah, it's different. Anytime I roll, I usually feel it in my neck for a couple days at the very least, and that's if I don't get choked out.
Yeah. Like,
we tap real fast. Jake taps real fast. I don't have a lot of
MMA victories, but I do have some, enough to, not be considered a complete scrub in it, just more of like what you would call it, a gatekeeper. Yeah. That's just MMA though. But I've gotten a few victories out of letting them just try to choke me out, but I just brick wall it the whole time. They get tired. And then that was my first amateur victory. He just, third round TKO. He was just getting that guillotine the whole time. I was like, nope, not good tap, not good tap. And then I TKO'd him at the last minute once he was too tired.
That's great. But that leads us into Muay Thai. So did you start learning Muay Thai at the MMA gym, or did you study it independently?
I had always been a more naturally gifted striker, but I did it while I did MMA. But shortly before I made my pro debut in MMA, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to do as many MMA fights as I want. I don't care about MMA. I want to do Muay Thai. That's what I want to do. And back then, there was nothing in Texas or even hardly in the United States that had to do anything with Muay Thai. Maybe one or two things in California. That was it. So I didn't care. I said, this is what I'm going to do because I think this is what I'm going to be best at. So I just decided to keep on doing Muay Thai as my career, but I was going to do MMA on the side. Like, I have no shame in this, so I'm just going to say I am now 6-1 Muay Thai, but I'm 5-14 MMA. I don't care, because MMA is just a side gig. It's a side thing. What I wanted to do also was learn the game, learn how the promotions work, learn how to not be nervous, learn how to be able to control my cardio, learn all these different things. That way, when I went into Muay Thai, I was going to be unstoppable, and the plan has worked brilliantly so far.
If last night was any evidence, yes. Now, I don't remember when you said it, but I do remember you saying it, is that obviously you know how to fight, but you also understand the showmanship side of it. And that really shows. That really shows in all of your fights, really.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any hate in my heart towards anybody. You usually have to hit me before I even care. I'm just like, bro, I don't even want to hit you. Boom. Oh, fine.
Fine if I have to.
Yeah. But, once I get into it, then, yeah, it's like.
But I think that's part of what made your fight the highlight, at least for me, because, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth or, like, insult you in any way, but, like, I get a little bit of a pro wrestling vibe from you, just in the way you carry yourself when you're in the ring or in the cage, rather.
Yeah, but that's also something I learned over time, too. You have to be able to sell yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's just if you want to be able to be popular, and that's why even when I was in MMA, before I even started my Muay Thai thing, before I even started that, like, I would get paid hardcore. I would get paid good money just to show up. I would be, even at that point, I was like 5-9, and they would just be like, bro, we will pay you twice what we pay the normal fighter. Just come on this show, because I would get fight of the night all the time. I would eat head kicks, and I have a highlight reel that just eating head kicks, and the people would just go like, what the hell is this guy? He's a freaking zombie. They loved watching me. So
yeah. Oh, Eric just commented, spinning back fist. My boy was fighting Ultra Ego.
Hell yeah.
Well, no, but it's like, because it's one of my favorite moments. There's one of your fights is on YouTube. The dude literally punches you square in the face, and you just smile at the motherfucker, and the fight changed like that.
Yep. That's how it always happens, bro. When they hit you with their best shot, and then you smile, they're like, get me the hell out of here. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's only ever happened to me with my ex-wife, but we won't talk about that.
Speaking of ex-wives, bro, let me tell you. I'm gonna tell you one more thing. The scariest moment sometimes when either you are not sure if you're going to win or you just are new at it, the scariest moment is when you hear that cage door lock. You're like, oh, I'm not getting out of here unless I go through him. This is not going to be, boy, that's a nerve-wracking moment.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. But speaking of ex-wives, bro, I just wanted to tell you, June 8th is my next court date, and I'm going to have my daughter back. I am 95% sure after this court case. They done effed up so hard this last time, bro. So hard.
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
I had a gun. My ex-wife, she has a new husband. His name is Kenny. And I have the case number and everything. He's about to be arrested soon. He pointed a gun at me and Veronica, the girl who was with me, and pointed a gun at us. The cops had to arrive on the scene, and they had to tell him 4 times to drop the gun before he would drop the gun. That's how insane this dude is. Like, he's going to be arrested soon, and then we're going to be able to get restraining orders. My daughter's going to be with me permanently, you know. It's, oh, man, I'm just waiting, counting down the days till June 8th, bro. And then I'm going to have my daughter. I'm going to do a live stream with her. It's going to be the best ever. She told, in the last weekend I had her, she told me that she loved me for the first time because she was kidnapped from me for 8 years, bro. 8 years she was kidnapped from me. I had to go through, I got acquitted on all of them, had the charges dismissed on everything, but I had to go through over a dozen criminal cases that my ex-wife tried to pin on me for family violence, blah, blah, blah. And I got acquitted on everything and had the charges dismissed on everything. And in the end, she's the one who ended up with a family violence conviction. So, you know, it's all working out. It's all working out great. So soon I'll have my daughter back, and we're definitely going to have to celebrate that.
That's tremendous. I did not know any of that was going on with you.
Oh, bro, I have so much more going on. Like I'm my own lawyer. Like, after I'm done fighting, I'm going to be in law school.
Oh, for real? Seriously, you're going to go to law school?
Absolutely. I'm going to try to upturn the system. I'm going to change all the Texas family courts, everything like that.
I was just going to ask. It sounds like you'd be going into family law. So
I'll do criminal too, though. I'm just good at that.
But, okay, so you don't have to go into anything you don't want to, but you touch on an interesting topic that I don't think a lot of people really talk about is family law in the United States. So on a scale of one...
the worst. As Republican as it is, I would think that they're better. But unfortunately, we have a little bit of the rhinos still stuck in the system, but it's changing slowly but surely.
Well, so my question for you is, on a scale of 1 to completely fucked up, how bad is family law in the United States when it comes to custody and stuff like that?
Oh, overall, it's a 9.5. Texas is probably a 9. It's pretty bad.
Really? That bad?
Yeah. Texas, it has its good right-wing underpinnings about freedom and fairness and everything like that. But unfortunately, Texas also has a very much of, we don't give a F about the father. Not that we think that they're not important, but they're like, okay, well, if you're a father and you're not making at least $60K every year and you cannot pay these basic court fees, then you don't even deserve to have your daughter. That's how they view it, you know.
And they don't.
That's how they kind of look at it.
Yeah, and they don't have those same standards for the mother, I assume.
Of course not. You can be a felon and still retain, you know, custody over a man with no criminal record and making, you know, $35,000 a year. You have to be the worst dog crap mother ever to be able to have your child stripped from you in Texas. So with that being said, my ex-wife is that bad of a woman. It's in court documents. Like, and she can see this. I hope she sees this. It's in court documents. She blew weed smoke in my daughter's face, had her drink Jello shots under false premises, didn't take one of her rape accusations seriously, just like her father did to her. Kept her in a horrible situation where she was getting bullied by the brothers that she was living with, getting punched, having doors slammed in her ankles, all sorts of stuff. And that's not even counting the abuse that my daughter abused when she was 1 year old, when when the grandfather punched me and her in the face, and then they all conspired together to try to say I did it, had me arrested, and then now I'm going to be able to get their house afterwards. That's the good thing about him. Now my daughter knows the truth about everything. But when I tell you I've been through some stuff.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, they had me falsely arrested and acquitted and dismissed charges on everything, on violations of protection orders, other counts of family violence. They tried to say I criminally neglected my child, assaulted a government worker. They tried to say I assaulted a CPS worker when she was the one who was actually assaulting me, and and the CPS worker got fired after our trial because the jury laughed at them. They laughed in their faces. It was brilliant.
Like that easy to prove bullshit, huh?
Even in the most what do you call it, clear cut cases, juries still take a day to figure things out sometimes. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding you, guy. I'm not kidding you, my man. This is a court record. I have this on court record. Literally, they came back with their decision of not guilty across the board in 5 minutes.
That's a pretty clear cut case.
It's the most clear cut it can be. They literally went in the room and bam, 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 bam. Yeah. Okay. You want to do it? Boom. Tell the judge.
Yeah. Like I imagine it took 4 minutes for everybody to sit down and get their, paperwork together.
Yeah. And if I never verified this rumor, but I think the district attorney was fired a year later. God
damn. Well, so family courts in Texas, look out. Sosa's coming for you.
No, I plan on it. I'm going to take this all the way up to federal court too. That's my intention, where I'm going to literally say I'm literally going to sue myself because I have standing, but I'm going to try to make it a class action lawsuit for basically any father who's ever been through a court system, can latch on to me. But I'm literally going to sue the entire federal government for discrimination on the basis that I'm a man. That's going to be the whole thing.
Holy shit, man! And the sad, it's sad that, you'd have grounds, because I've seen and heard and been privy to so many just fucked up stories, and it always seems to be happening to men, and they're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, no one gives a crap about men
unless they can fight. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, well, but actually, they even try to twist that against you. They try to make it seem like you're going to be more likely to be abusive and all that other stuff.
Well, and that tells me they don't know jack shit, because legitimately the nicest, most courteous, docile people I've ever met in my entire life are all fighters.
On average, there are those few.
There's a few. There are a few, but it's usually I can't say. The fighters that are assholes they're certainly rarely the best either. There's usually an inferiority complex. At least that's been my experience.
Absolutely. The biggest butthole that I've ever seen, and he was only able to do okay throughout his entire career. And when I say okay, it's still on a professional NFL level, type of thing. So it's still very good for him. But he never even got close to being a champion or anything like that. But he became close to a contender at one point. Was Paul Daly, the guy who sucker punched Josh Koscheck in the UFC day 10 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do remember that.
Yeah, he was the biggest one, but people like that don't make it far. That's the same thing with Tyron Woodley, and Bilal Muhammad is going to be the next Tyron Woodley. I guarantee you that at some point Bilal Muhammad will probably become the champion, but because he's such a racist libtard, once he achieves that championship shot, just like Tyron Woodley, he always wanted to play victim his entire life. And once he became the champion, everything goes downhill, because then you've achieved everything and you have no more excuses. You can't play the victim no more. And then all their motivation, all their skill just goes whoop, right out the window. And they become pathetic losers who lose to Jake Paul, because of that.
Oh my God. So, well, that brings up what's your opinion, if you don't mind answering? What's your opinion of the Paul brothers as far as fighting?
As far as fighting, I applaud them for their hard work. There is nothing fake about them. There's nothing fake about their boxing matches. There's none of that stuff. They are very good at picking. They have the money to be able to back it up, and they have the time to be able to back it up. And people do not understand how different boxing and just kickboxing is, let alone MMA. No, they're not even in the same field. So people I honestly thought Tyron Woodley was going to knock Jake Paul out, and he did come close at one point. I honestly thought that, but it was no surprise to me that he knocked Tyron Woodley the F out, considering his mental fortitude, as a libtard, but also just as the skills, just boxing is on another thing. And when you have someone who's been training with the very best that the world has to offer for years, it doesn't matter if you've done 15 years of MMA. You are not going to go in there and win. You're just not going to. Francis Ngannou has no chance against Tyson Fury, not even a shred. You think Francis Ngannou hits hard? Yeah, he hits hard in MMA. He definitely hits hard. I don't think I could beat Francis Ngannou in a fight. I mean, I don't. Like, but that being said, he has nothing. Who's the guy that Tyson just fought? He fought him twice or three times. He's a big black dude. I forget his name because he's one of the scariest things. Look him up real quick.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking.
He's one of the scariest dudes. I would not want to get hit. I'm the brick wall, and I would not want to get hit by a right hand from that dude. And you think that Francis Ngannou, I'm going to wait for you to do the name. So I'm going to drop some knowledge on everybody. You should be able to just put in
Deontay Wilder?
Deontay Wilder, man. I can't believe it. You see, when you get on Zoom, you forget everything.
Right, it does. That's legit.
How it always goes. But Deontay Wilder has scary punching power. No one has been able to beat that mother except for Tyson. Nobody. And I don't think anyone could at this current moment besides Tyson Fury. That being said, people actually think out there in the world that Francis Ngannou can punch as hard as Deontay Wilder. No, sir. Deontay Wilder can punch harder than Francis Ngannou by leagues and mountains. Francis Ngannou would not even be in the same ballpark as Deontay Wilder's punching power. No way. And then people think that, Francis has a knockout shot's worth, chance of winning against Tyson. No way in God's green earth. They are way too different.
Hardcore. So then, in your opinion, because I said this going back a little bit further, but you're talking about arguably probably the I don't even want to say the best boxer, but like the best tactical boxer of the modern era, certainly. When Floyd Mayweather had the boxing match against Conor McGregor, I had said at the time, everybody was like, Conor's going to destroy him. And I said, And this is coming from somebody who doesn't particularly like Floyd Mayweather, although my opinion of him has gotten a lot better as the years have gone on. I didn't like his attitude, but I think he's matured over the years.
That's all showmanship, bro.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, because I guarantee you, those two were shaking hands and laughing behind the scenes as they were. I'm sure Conor, because Conor said something about his family, and I'm sure beforehand Conor was like, "Hey, you want to make some more money? Watch this."
Yeah,
and just did it. But I was telling everybody, I was just like, I don't know. In boxing, I think Mayweather's got it, but if it was MMA, Conor would have eaten him alive.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing too, and people really hate me for saying that. They really hate it. And Chael Sonnen, bless his heart, he's right on a lot of things whenever it comes to Conor versus Floyd. Like that Conor won more rounds than the judges said. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. A lot of the stuff that Chael says about it is true. But Chael, and a lot of other people, y'all are wrong on one thing, and mainly one big thing about this. I swear to you, this is true. I swear to you on everything. I know this for an absolute fact as someone who has done it all. If Floyd wanted to knock out Conor in the second or third, he absolutely could have. Yep. He carried him that entire fight just to make a show about it. That, I'm going to take him into the 11th round because he's never gone past 25 minutes. Bullshit. Floyd could have finished him in the second, no problem, if he just wanted to.
Yeah, and I said the same thing. It was Logan that fought. Was it Logan or Jake that fought Mayweather?
Logan.
That's what I thought. I watched the highlights of that fight, and there were so many times where I was like, Floyd could have taken him right there.
Yeah.
And Floyd's good enough to where if I can see it, I've missed 3 or 4 other times that Floyd would have seen.
Exactly.
And it makes perfect sense.
It's not to say that Conor couldn't do better or that he didn't win those rounds. He absolutely did win a lot of those rounds. It's not to say that Conor doesn't belong in there with him. It's not saying that Conor can't get better or he couldn't brawl him out or, make it dirty or something like that. But Floyd could have easily done it if he had just wanted to.
Oh, I thought Conor did tremendous.
He did.
He showed.
But it's only because Floyd allowed it.
Sure. Yeah. But that's just the disparity of skill in boxing.
Yeah, it's an entirely different game, bro. That's why I don't do boxing. I suck at boxing compared to the professionals. compared to professionals, I have nothing for it because Rocky, keep going, Rocky. But no, that's all bullshit. Like, it's complete bullshit. Like,
yeah, not even.
No.
Well, and you got to remember though, most people have never actually been punched in the face before.
Like I remember when I first walked into a boxing gym for the first time, and you can ask those people, even they will not contest this. I could have kept going if I wanted to, but we were sparring. I thought, I'm Mr. Muay Thai. Who the fuck is going to mess with me in a boxing gym? Punches, whatever. I ain't got nothing to worry about, bro. This guy named Spider. He's an okay pro. God bless his heart. Being an okay pro means you are mountains and leagues above the average man. You're in the top 1% just to become a professional. So that's not a diss. Like, I love it when people try to make fun of me online. Oh, your MMA record. I'm like, that's my side sport, but whatever. And they're just like, still, you suck at it so bad. I'm like, dude, do you really think that you could? They're like, oh, I could beat you in a fight, bro. Okay, so like, take the NFL. You really think that a team that went 5-14 during the season, you think you can beat even their worst player at anything in football? No, you are insane. That is the same level of insanity that you're talking, that you could think you could actually best me in any type of way during a fight, just because I'm one of the lesser people. I'm not even one of the worst. I'm just one of the lower ranked guys in MMA in professional sports. And you, bro, oh, I'm so sad. Oh, poor me. I'm 5-14 in the NFL. Oh, I'm gonna cry with all my money.
Yeah.
Like, what? You think that makes me feel bad? Y'all are delusional. Like,
well, because isn't minimum wage in the NFL like $400K?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. I think it's 300, but yeah.
Oh, but it's still in the 6 digits.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that much for MMA, but just to get any amount of wins, you know how good you have to be? You know how much money you can potentially make? I do not feel bad, bro. And I had these promoters paying me, bro. I had them paying me. I had to go through a corrupt child support system for years while my daughter was kidnapped for 8 years. Like, I just used MMA money. I was good. Like, the whole time. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I got to travel and do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, well, what I was going back on, Francis Ngannou has no chance. If he goes in and boxes any boxer, he's going to get destroyed, and his stock value is going to go down the crapper, and then PFL is not going to have to pay him anything.
What would you say is your best fight that you've had?
My best fight?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of...
I know, that's rough. That's hard.
Yeah, that's kind of... I don't know. I can tell you... I'll just tell you this. The first fight where I really achieved some stardom across Texas and actually started getting recognized outside the USA and started getting offered other fights across the United States was against an old teammate of mine, Humberto Martinez. And it was a good rivalry because me and him had been rivals in the same gym for a long time. And I got to show a lot of my brick wallness, and people were just floored with how tough I was and the shots I was eating. And, none of it ever mattered. And it's on my YouTube channel. I still put it up there, despite me losing. I won the first round, but he started wrestling me in the second and third, which is why I stopped doing MMA, because F that. But yeah, that's what really put me on the map.
By the way, link to Sosa's YouTube channel is in the description. Definitely check it out, which can actually lead us into the other stuff we were wanting to talk about.
I've been waiting on this now.
No, not only does Sosa fight professionally, but he's also a YouTuber, as we established, and predominantly, I would say, what would you call yourself, a cultural or media critic?
I don't really have a name like that. I really don't think of anything. I am. If I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it, and I don't care if you don't like it. I talk what I want to talk about.
Dude, your review of the new Little Mermaid movie had me rolling. That shit was funny as fuck.
I was proud of that.
That was
I love
good.
That one.
I mean, but
y'all better love me for suffering through that movie.
But the whole time I'm laughing, but I'm like, I bet he's right because I haven't seen it yet. But
well, I'm absolutely right. As the only reason I went to go and do a review on it is because my daughter, I literally named my daughter Ariel. My daughter, not the one, not my oldest one who was kidnapped, but my second child. Her name is Ariel. She's 8 years old, and so we were just like, we have to go and see it. And even her afterwards, she was just like, "It's okay."
It's Which I saw today. It's got like a 95% audience fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
We both know that's fake, bro.
Oh, I know, but I'm like, I'm like, they have to have curated them.
Of course.
Like, there's no other way. Like, I know they do that with critic scores, but usually the audience score is the indicator. There's no way that movie's that good.
Let's also keep it real. They're obviously curating it, but it's also, you have to remember this: the only people who are going to see it are the people who like that leftist, race swapping crap anyway. So
that
is
a valid
good review. That doesn't count. The rating on Rotten Tomatoes, even if it's not curated, doesn't account for all the people who didn't go see it.
That's valid point, because, and like I said, I commented on yours. This I'm in a real catch-22 with this one, because Disney's been coming out with all these. I've yet to see a Disney remake, the live action remake that I would consider good. Like, I think they've all been garbage up to this point, at least the ones that I've seen.
Lion King was absolute garbage. I don't know how people made that.
And Lion King, you can make an argument that the Lion King might be. It's certainly up there, if not the best Disney animated movie ever made.
Oh, like the cartoon old school?
Yeah, the original.
Heck yeah, bro. That's some good stuff.
And it's almost like Disney's going out of the way to shit on their own stuff.
Yeah, of course they are.
And I don't understand it. I think there's this weird thing that's happening. And it's not just in media. It's in general just dealings in business, because like I own my own business here, and I'm floored how many times it's like I just throw my hands up so often, and I'm like, I guess you guys just don't like money. Because
it's not about money, bro. That's what a lot of right wingers don't get, and it drives me up a wall. They do not care about the money. They care about the power, and they care about the long game. Okay, even in the worst get woke, go broke scenarios. Okay, Vice Media. How many times have they gone bankrupt just for George Soros to come in and give them another $300 million? They don't care if they go broke, because they're going to have the government even come in and supply them with money anyway. The movie theaters and the actors got COVID relief funds in 2020. Like, they don't care. They're going to get their money either way.
Extremely valid point. But you're 100% right. I'm even referring to just like, I couldn't fucking believe this. And I know it's probably because it's just so hard to find people that actually want to work. But like a couple of years ago, I needed to go buy a water heater and a dishwasher. I knew exactly what I wanted. I walked in, and that sweet lady at the front's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here to get 2 appliances." Okay, I'll have somebody meet you back there. Dude, I waited for 20 minutes, not a soul. And then I flagged somebody else, and I was like, "Hey, I just need somebody or give me a car. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just need something to put these appliances on." Another 15 minutes, I just walked the fuck out the store. Went down to Lowe's and bought my appliances there.
There you go, man. There is some people will cower when they lose their money, but you have to take it really far with that. Like Bud Light is such a good example, because the conservatives did a great job of associating it with the common man. Oh, they didn't go, "Oh, they're trying to indoctrinate your children," which they absolutely are. They didn't go with that. What the conservatives did instead that works so well is, you're a wimp if you drink that good beer, man. And it freaking works.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Bud Light is that, and I'm not saying that they were smart to have Dylan Mulvaney as part of any sort of ad campaign, but that was actually quite small. It was supposed to be just an Instagram campaign. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal, but the right got a hold of it, and they just dragged it into the spotlight, which they did intentionally. But I find that hilarious that some people on the right, not so much the actual critics, but just kind of people who are in the space, like made such a big deal out of it. And it's like, well, but at the same time, you guys are the ones that brought this into the spotlight. It was never supposed to be there. Yeah,
I like Ben. I think he does more good than harm, but he's definitely not my favorite conservative. But he does a great line on just like, "Well, why are you noticing it? You put it out." Just like, "Well, you put it out there, but why are you caring so much? Why do you care so much?" Because you put it out there.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. Well, that leads us into and I know you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit, bro. I've been waiting on this day.
Why don't you just go ahead and hit everybody with it?
All right. We're going to debate Steven Crowder, and we're going to show everybody how you can actually disagree with your friends and actually still care 100% about each other and say that the other side's legit. I am going to tell you all right now, Jake and Eric, I both had this debate with them. They have their legit points. So I'm going to concede some of those legit points right now, okay? Steven should not be yelling or talking that bad to his pregnant wife. Heavily pregnant wife. He needs to chill the F out. But I still believe that he is the main victim in this scenario. That's my opinion. If you break down the video, which I do a breakdown about that, I've done 2 videos on the subject, so y'all just check on my channel. In the first video, she actually concedes everything he's saying. She is a neglectful wife who doesn't do what she's supposed to do. That doesn't excuse what he does. He still needs to be the better person, but she doesn't even argue with him. She just was just like, and she even tries to sneak in little digs. Oh, well, I'll have someone else take me. We all know what you're doing there, girl. Like that's low, So, and he responds, watch it. Like, that's not abusive. That's just men exercising the power that God gave them. He literally gave us this power to exercise over certain things, including women, when the need came. And I don't think he took it too far. He was just a jerk about it. But, I think that if you just sit back and look at both sides, she's obviously more in the wrong overall, just not that one specific scenario. But also think about this. That is the worst thing that they could release about him. If that is the worst you've ever done, you are an angel.
Very valid. I get where I was coming from is there's a lot of stuff, and I'm a stickler for this. There's a reason on our podcast segments, if we get something wrong, we do a segment called What Did We Fuck Up? I'm very big on being accurate. And we prefaced everything we're talking about is based on what we know at this point. There's a lot that we don't know. But I even said Sosa made some great points. We're supposed to be debating, but we're agreeing on most of this shit. But it's like Sosa made a lot of really good points. Like, was she cheating? We don't know. Seems like it could have been. But in the absence of being like, yeah, here's photos of her out with some other dude, we just don't know. So I leave that in the unknown. But you can use that when thinking about it because, if she did cheat, then we can look at it in this context, blah, 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 blah.
And for full context, Steven has said that neither one of them committed infidelity.
But you made a point.
Making those little digs, nah, you don't play that. That's the low. You don't do that.
Well, you made the point that Steven might even just want to preserve a better optics of the situation. So there may well have been infidelity. He just hasn't said so. But
yeah. Like, I know that dude, this is such a real thing. And my dad is like this as raised in the religion. I know there are so many dudes like this, the type of men who marry first when they're virgins. That's a very admirable thing. You should do that. But they're not like me. I'm a different type of right winger. I'm more closely associated to Tate than I am Shapiro, So that being said, I do not care. If a girl cheats on me, I'm just like, well, every woman does. I don't care. That doesn't faze me none. But for a religiously conservative raised type of man to admit that his wife cheated on him in the only relationship he's ever been in, that is embarrassing to them. So he might very well be lying about that.
Oh, I pretty well guarantee. Because I can't imagine now, take this with a grain of salt, having never met the guy, but it's so funny. YouTube, as I'm sure you're well aware, YouTube is full of very, very, nuanced and thoughtful individuals who think before they speak.
Yeah.
But I randomly gave Crowder shit. God, I think this was over a year ago. I don't remember how
you done messed up there.
No, I was proven right. Because what I said,
I thought you meant something else. I thought you were about to say that the sycophants came after you.
Oh well, they kind of did. But here's basically, okay, I'll give you the gist. So we were talking about, I think we were just talking about conservative hosts in general, and I said, yeah, but a lot of them do this thing where, they talk a big game about, standing up to people and fighting the good fight, but the minute it starts to escalate, they're like I've seen Crowder do this. Like there was one video, it was a Crowder confronts and the girl, or I think it was a guy actually, but the guy like I wouldn't call it a full blown shove. He just kind of like shoved past him to get out of the way, and then he starts going, "That's assault! That's assault!" I'm like, yeah, like technically yes, it is assault, but you were also in the dude's face, and call me old fashioned, but I believe that when you get in some dude's face, you're running the risk of getting punched in said face.
Oh, absolutely. I actually 100% agree with you on that bro code type of thing. That being said, I will absolutely pin someone with assault, even if it's just a Class C misdemeanor, just so I can win the argument, or the court case. I will absolutely do that. So I understand 100% what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand fully what he was doing. But I guess my point is, and it's not even so much that, because it's like, yes, honestly, if especially if somebody sucker punches you on the street, absolutely get him for assault.
Yeah.
But it's because Crowder was talking such a big game about how, like, you need to stand up and you need to fight for truth and blah, blah, blah. You need to, stand up and defend yourself, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, but do you? And Crowder's not a small dude.
No, he's not. He knows jiu-jitsu and everything.
Yeah, I was going to say Crowder could fuck somebody up. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just the optics of it didn't look particularly good. But again, if Crowder's fans, and this annoys me on any side of the political spectrum, no matter what it is, when you're such a big fan and I don't mean follower in a negative sense, but like when you're such a follower of somebody and you see this on the left and right, when that in your mind that person can do no wrong. Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, we're all human.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I'm never going to be that way about anybody.
Yeah, like I said, you mentioned Andrew Tate. It's like I'm a Tate fan too, but there's some where I'm just like, it's very rare, but sometimes I'm just kind of like,
I'm like, bro, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're making it way harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, well, like the whole women being property one. He didn't directly say women are property, but he basically likened property in a relationship. Well, like, bro, you're not doing yourself any favors.
And that's really funny because that's an example of a time where it's like if you actually listen to what he said, I think a lot of women would agree with it actually too. A lot of women do agree with it. I've run sample
women
groups.
Who want alpha males would, yes.
Well, but even the type that quote disagree are talking about it outside of the context that he's talking about. It's like he never said, or like when he said women can't drive. Dude, YouTube's gonna hate me for this one. Like, yes, women can drive. I've never in my life met a woman, or certainly never a woman that I've been in a relationship with or dating or anything, even on a casual dating level, like that wanted to drive. So I cannot tell you how many times I've been thrown her keys. Can you please drive?
Bro, you dating tip for all guys out there.
Drive.
Yes. You should be picking her up.
Yeah.
But either way, if y'all gonna take the same car, you automatically assume you're driving. They'll love it.
Yep. And don't even say it. Just go to the driver's side. No.
Give me the keys. Boom.
Yep. Done.
Yep. Hold her hand while you hold her hand while you're driving. You got one hand on the wheel and you're making all these turns effortlessly. Freaking love that, man.
Do the whole like palm on the steering wheel thing.
Yep. They love that. They go crazy for that stuff.
They love it.
Their hand the whole time.
Actually,
kissing at the red lights and stuff.
Yep. Another pro dating tip. Don't even say, give me the keys. Just walk her to the passenger side door and open it for her.
Bro, even better. That being said, though, I am a gentleman and I'm chivalrous on most things, bro. But man, opening the woman's car door every time.
No, not every time.
Exhausting. That's not so exhausting, bro. I say that shit for special occasions.
Yeah, no, not every time.
Because it does. You can be a little bit of an independent woman this time. 95%.
Well, it gets to a point where it's annoying, but on a first date, absolutely.
Yeah. I one time had a girl confront me about that, and I actually didn't fight with her about it. I was just like, okay, that's fine. But she was crazy in every other way anyways. But I was just like, you know what? Maybe I should do that, more often.
Well, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Well, it depends on the girl you will go out with. But, the results of the last election are, 94% of all single women voted Democrat. And then you have to remember that at least half of the other women out there that didn't vote Democrat and might have voted Republican were either just neutral, didn't want to be involved with politics, and then the ones that did vote conservative are still going to revert back to playing victims and being all entitled and stuff. So maybe only 1% of all the women out there are actually viable candidates to actually be with. It's not a good system out there right now.
Oh, you're discounting the single women who didn't vote because they didn't have a man to tell them how to vote. That's a joke, YouTube.
It's not for me.
There's a slight hint of truth to that, though. Honestly, like, it's fascinating what can happen if you just, like, I sound like a feminist, but like if you just sit down and listen to them when they talk, you'll learn so much.
Bro, for real. Like, I love talking to people of the opposite side. There's just not that many who actually do it, but I learned so much.
Well, what I say so often is, and there's so many other channels on YouTube that say essentially the same thing, but dude, like, you'll find if like, try this, gentlemen, if you're watching, just try this. Next time you're on a date with anybody, somebody you don't know super well though, is talk to them about something quasi-controversial in public where people are in earshot, especially if it's a friend group, and listen to her answers, and then bring up the exact same thing in private. I guarantee you will get at least 50% different answers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, back to the subject though. What exactly about Steven Crowder do you disagree with me on?
That's a great question. Well, I guess you just said it, so we actually agree on this. I'm I'm a bit of a philosophy nerd, particularly ethics, and kind of my personal shtick is I have a lot of rules that I have for myself that I don't really have for other people, but I do have some kind of general guidelines on certain things, and one of which is like how a man should behave in certain situations. Like, even though it puts us at a massive disadvantage, there's some situations where I feel like, like the whole classic, like, you never hit a woman. I wouldn't say never, but those situations where it would be acceptable, I'm not even going to say appropriate, but acceptable for a man to hit a woman are very, very rare. And
I don't think you ever, I think as a man, there might be a need once in a while, like if she refuses to leave the room and she keeps on, yelling and screaming in front of your baby, maybe you have to like push her out of the room and lock the door, maybe. But you never have to hit a woman unless she's actually attacking you.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sorry, not sorry. If chick has a knife, I'm laying her the fuck out. If I can't run, I'm laying her out. Or if there's
you and I are a little bit different there. I think it's a moral obligation on my part to lay her the F out so she knows where she stands on the totem pole.
Oh, I'm just talking about the knife.
No, in that case too. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know, man.
Like, I'm not retreating. You think I'm going to run from you? Oh no, you're going to learn your place.
I don't know, man. Knives can get nasty real quick, but I definitely see your point of view. The other exception would be, again, like you mentioned, if there's a child involved. That's a lay them out, ask questions later.
No, that's a perfect example. And I'm going to tell the jury this, June 8th or, whenever we have to. I have no problem saying this, and I will tell everybody on this. I one time had to do that in the car with my abusive ex-wife. Again, she has the conviction of family violence. I do not. All this is government record and everything like that, her abuse towards the daughter and everything. But when my daughter was just 6 months old, we were going down the highway. 60, 70 miles per hour. And my wife tried to start a fight with me in there. She started slapping me and everything like that. I told her to stop one time. She stopped. I took ball of her hair, grabbed her hair, and I slammed her against the window. And I held her there the entire ride home because my daughter was in that backseat of that car and there was no way I was letting her get me in an accident with her in there. No way whatsoever. She can record this. She can present it to the jury. Fine, I do not care. I will tell the jury that happily. So there are times where you actually have to use physical force on a woman. Yeah. But she was being violent.
Yeah. But generally speaking, it's not acceptable. It's not necessary or acceptable. Actually, my favorite thing to do because I had an ex that turned kind of violent on occasion, my favorite thing to do was just pick her up and take her out of the room. That was my favorite thing to do. Because, she's 5'2" and $120 on her worst day. Like,
yeah, And I have no doubt, also going back to the Steven Crowder footage, I have no doubt that she planned that whole event out because she was talking way too sweet. Maybe she's one of those sweet women. There are those women who are like that, but I bet she was setting that up the whole time. And also with an edited video, we found that out later. There was, 45 seconds missing periodically from different parts. It was an edited video.
Yeah, well, not only that, because I forget the name of the journalist, but a journalist released it, and everybody was like, "Oh, I wonder where they got the video." Really?
Yeah. Oh, we don't have proof it was his wife. Like
that's why she gave it to the journalist, because there was a gag order in place.
Exactly. And,
so it's crafty, and I'm sure her lawyer cooked that up.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So like,
they had this plan from the very start.
Yeah. So like, don't get me wrong, I'm so not on her side because I don't know the situation, but that's a situation, like to quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's like, I haven't even been through anything particularly bad, but like, again, had an ex that would get physical from time to time, not to mention the horrible things that would be said at any time. And it's like, a lot of times I just had to sit there and take it. Yeah. Because I knew if I laid a hand on her, even in self-defense, or even in like a, like a replicated Steven Crowder, even if I brushed past her and, maybe hit her the wrong way or hit her a little too rough, like, I could get arrested.
Yeah, that's why I record everything, bro. I record everything. An argument starts, I'll just secretly flip on my camera, start recording.
But like, but there's even like an ethical side that I just don't feel like it's appropriate. And that was a really long diatribe. And I just kind of felt like Steven, and I think Tate said something to the same effect too, is like, or maybe it was Justin Waller who said, like, don't ever yell at a woman, because that'll frustrate the hell out of them.
Well, it's also true, if you yell at a woman, they don't view you in the same respect. If you let a woman get you emotional, they lose attraction for you.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's it was very disrespectful, but I found it to be mostly true. It's like, oh, I'm going to get labeled a sexist for this one, but I don't care. There's a lot of situations where women can get overly emotional and act kind of child-esque. Like, it happens a lot, especially when they're angry or emotional. Not all women, I know. I hate the fact that I have to say that, but...
Well, I mean, I don't even think it's women's fault. I actually blame men for the majority of everything that's going wrong. And unfortunately, some of it has to do with women too, but some of it is also just reality, but some of it is also men's fault. It's like a third split in between them all. Men are supposed to compete with each other. We're naturally designed to not give a crap about each other. In fact, if we can lesser other men, that we know that it builds us up. So, on the dating totem pole. So we actively try to fight against each other. We do not stick together like women do.
No.
Not even close. Third of it is just reality, nature. It's just, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just what it is. But the other part is also men's fault. It's our responsibility to make sure that we put women in their place when they get out of line. It's our responsibility to make sure that women know their loss in society. And if we fail at that, we cannot blame what the Bible literally dictates as the not inferior, but the feminine one, the one to be submissive. We're supposed to be the leaders. If we're not leading the right way, and if they go ham, that's our fault.
Wow, we agree on that too. Because another dating tip, gentlemen, don't ask her where she wants to go.
Oh, bro, they love it when you have something planned.
Just pick a place. Don't even fucking tell her unless she asks. And even then, kind of try to be coy.
Yeah. And if she doesn't like it, then you can just throw it in her face, and she'll get pissed. But then she'll be like, "Oh, well, this is a real man here."
Yeah. Well, no, I actually, man, this was a slam dunk. I was so proud of myself for this. This is a couple years ago, where it was like, I was setting up a date with this girl, and then she asked, "Where are we going?" And I said, "Don't worry, you'll love it."
Boom. Big dick energy right there.
Doesn't happen often, but it does happen occasionally.
Yeah, but that being said, women nowadays, because of men and our bad roles and bad leaders as of late, have become just absolutely delusional and drunk on power. The feminine ones are not supposed to have the power like that. And I came up with a great parable. This illustration, I think, is the absolute best. Do y'all want to know why leftism is so toxic? Because in reality, right wing is male, left wing is female. All right. Both have their place in society, but that is the most basic thing you could reduce it down to. That's what it is. Do you want to know why leftism is so toxic nowadays? Because leftism is not supposed to be the driving force. Leftism is supposed to be mainly for destruction, and destruction of good things is good. But if you let destruction go too far, just like in forest fires, they'll burn other parts of the forest to stop forest fires. But you can't let it go out of hand. And this is where the parable comes in. I think this is one of the best illustrations I've ever come up with in my life. You know what leftism is? Leftism with power run amok. Leftism is a female grizzly bear taking care of her young. That's what leftism is. A female grizzly bear doesn't ask you questions, doesn't reason with you, doesn't think, doesn't do any of that stuff, doesn't investigate. If leftism sees something wrong and anywhere near their babies, they go fucking nuts and they will kill you, and they will go on it, and they will become a zombie until the threat is either neutralized or they're dead. That's what leftism is.
Whether and and whether it's an actual threat or not.
There is a place for that. Leftism for females, they take this passion and apply it to everything else where it doesn't belong. Okay? You are supposed to be that way whenever it comes to your babies or whenever it comes to protecting them. You are supposed to be that way whenever it comes to certain things. Like if someone is racially discriminating against someone else, you are supposed to be that mama bear. You do not tolerate that stuff. But if you apply it to everything else in life, where there's supposed to be nuance, where everything is not so black and white, where different morals come into different places, leftism is a cancer. So it has its place. But that's what I think the best likening to it can be. It's a female grizzly bear protecting her young.
Oh, I think you hit the nail on the head, because I'm gonna go on a bit of a Jordan Peterson rant here, because he said something very similar. And one of the I keep a list of quotes in my phone that I just like, and one of them is, "It's a mother grizzly bear's compassion that gets you killed." And then he points out in his book, and I've heard him say it in various times, because he makes the exact same point. There's a place, you need the left and the right to have a harmonious society, because the right wants to keep things orderly, and push the engine forward, and the bigger, and you need people on the left to point and say, no, that group is being left out, or that person's being wrongfully treated, or this, it's compassion. Yeah. But when you have too much compassion run amok, it's like you said, it becomes pure chaos.
Right.
But conversely, when you have too much of the right, it becomes too orderly, which becomes, or can become tyrannical, as we saw, which actually Nazi Germany is very bad.
No, that's not right wing. They're left wing.
Yeah, I was going to say probably a little bit closer to Mussolini's Italy, but even then there's still some, because fascism gets this weird, they take the nationalism on the right and attribute it to fascism. Fascism is just a branch of socialism. If you really dig into it and do your research, it's just ultra nationalistic, which I get is a weird hybrid, but fascism is very much
that's why Adolf did it in the first place. He literally says within his book, and I'm going to rephrase what he said, but the reason he was so much against communism is basically read the stuff, read his writings. He basically says that communism, what we have nowadays, the left run amok, that they're dumb fucks. He says that communists are dumb fucks. He said, so you need a little bit of the right wing to come in and tailor it and do it the right way. So we're going to have fascism not run by these dumb hippies, that just ruin everything. So that was his thing.
Yeah, they essentially changed the dividing lines from class to country and race. Exactly. In the case of the Nazis, they made the dividing.
His literal thing is like, okay, I want to be a leftist dictator, like every other leftist, but I understand that some right wing things need to be applied in order for me to be successful, so I'm going to apply them. Like, that doesn't make him not left wing. It just means that he's not as dumb as y'all are.
Well, and I still marvel at how, because a lot of the fascists, they didn't get off scot-free, but they got a lot of the nationalists, I should say, because this really happened with Japan post the Second World War, is because they wanted to combat communism so much, a lot of those fuckers got off scot-free because they needed them. They needed Japan as a staging point in a potential war with the Soviet Union, and they definitely needed it when Korea and Vietnam started.
Yeah.
in
I
their
mean,
proxy
worst
wars.
case scenario, when you have the worst case scenario that you ever have in a right-wing totalitarian system is V for Vendetta, where they weren't all being killed. You just had no freedom, and the other extreme of a right-wing totalitarian system is the Amish, but the opposite extreme for leftism is everybody's dead. Like, there's no comparison.
Well, to be fair, in V for Vendetta, people were being killed. It was just the fringe groups, like i.e. the others.
But essentially, even in that system, you would thrive and be happy as long as you towed the line. In leftism, everyone just dies.
Eventually.
Yeah. So neither one of them are good. But like, I marvel at the mental gymnastics that you have to do. Hitler was a gay vegetarian democratic socialist who claimed to be for the workers and loved animals. He is a left-winger, you dipshits.
Hey, now, animals are fine.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying when you apply all those, that is a left wing. We use a nationalist that makes him right-wing. No, bro, that's only one out of the other 8 things that qualify for your side.
It's also worth noting that Hitler was Austrian.
It's also worth noting that Hitler was a bad nationalist. If he's supposed to put his country first and he got all of them slaughtered, that's not a very good nationalist.
Well, I think he started out a nationalist and he became very, very quickly just obsessed with protecting his inner circle, which is kind of it's not a tenet of the left, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, right. Because, I mean, he was that way. He was a right winger for a little while. Palpatine in Star Wars was, part of the democratic system until he took over.
Right. So was Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. He was literally voted in.
Yeah.
So whatever.
That does kill me though, because I've heard people say this, and it's usually a history nerd, by no means an expert, but just I nerd out on shit like this. When people say like, I don't understand how that could have happened, it's like, well, you got to understand it had never happened before. That's how the communist revolution in the Soviet Union happened. It had never happened before. This was all theory with Marx and Chomsky and all these people. Like, this was all fucking theory. And then they said, oh, we're going to build this great, free society where everyone's equal. But the one thing everybody forgot was human nature. And what happens, and it's not a bad thing, it just is. Once we have shit, we don't want to give it away. And that's money, that's power, that's...
Yeah, to a certain extent.
To a certain extent. We don't want to give it completely away. Yeah. We don't want to give it completely away.
But with that being said, Jordan Peterson also points out that when people have an abundance of means, yes, they keep some of it for themselves, but when they have an abundance, they give away to charities much more often.
Yeah, statistically, that is true. When I say don't want to give it away, I mean like, when you run a country with very few exceptions, you don't want to give all that away. You might delegate some power.
Yeah.
Just to make your life easier. And same thing, like, what does Tate say? He's like, the best psyop they ever did was convince people that having money made you miserable. Because if that were true, then all the billionaires would give away all their money. And no billionaire ever has given away all their money while they were alive. There have been some who have been like, yeah, when I'm dead, give it all.
Yeah.
But yeah. But like you said, there are billionaires that are very generous and give away parts of their wealth, but not all of it.
Yeah, well, and again, the right wing contributes way more of their monetary means. Like, it's not even close.
That's true.
All right, I want to try this one more time because I think what I'm sensing is you've come over to my side a little bit more. But I'm gonna try one more time. I'm gonna try one more time to get you on the Steven Crowder debate. I'm gonna try to see if I can get a little fire going right here.
Okay.
I really don't think there was much of anything wrong that he said. Even when he goes as far as to say, watch it. I think that's appropriate. I don't get what's wrong.
It wasn't so much, for me, it wasn't so much what he said. It was how he was saying it. And honestly,
bro, they sound like a female now.
Hear me out.
Yeah, I know. I'm messing with
you. That does sound, I've been told that. It's like, it's not so much what you said, it's how you said it.
Bro, I'm going to admit some female qualities on my end. I'm the same way with my girl. Like, it's fine.
Well, no, what I mean by that is even taking out the fact that she's pregnant. First of all, to me, that whole situation seemed like Steven was being way too emotional about all of it. And again, we're missing some crucial context. my first question with all that is, like, he's trying to get her to walk the dogs, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
First of all, why do they need to walk the dogs? Because it looks like they have a fairly spacious backyard. And with, not even saying their dog's aggressive, because I know he's got a Dogo Argentino, right? Very well trained dog, but it's big.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of dog where if it takes off running for any reason and she's holding onto that leash, that could be disastrous with the woman who's pregnant.
Forgive me. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here that I do not have proof of, but I'm going to go ahead and assert it as fact. I'm pretty sure that if that dog was prone to running off and, you know, dragging his wife behind, he would not be asking her to do it. Probably,
but it only takes one time.
True, but I mean, we don't base our decisions based off what might happen that's never happened before. That's just silly.
We do when we're dealing with someone that's pregnant, though. Or at least I would think. I would think. But like, I see what you're saying.
I'm willing to bet my left nut that she had walked the dog several other times while she's pregnant.
Probably, yeah. So that's minor, and that's a question I wanted answered. I'm not saying like, well, she shouldn't be walking dogs. It's just a question that we didn't have context on.
No, I actually had, you know, a feminist actually say that on one of my comment things, and I maintain this. I've let my partners know all this every time, and if they don't accept it, that's absolutely fine. But you are not going to be a woman who just sits there and gets fat. I tell women the same thing when they're on their periods and when they're pregnant or anything like that. Being pregnant and or being on your period entitles you to chocolate and loving and massages and extra care from me. It does not entitle you to be lazy and to treat me badly. Like, I will spoil the living heck out of boy. I'm telling you, my woman, when she's pregnant, is going to be like, man, she's going to be spoiled. She's going to have everything catered to her. She's going to have a bath with lavender oils and everything every day. I will brush her hair, do whatever she wants. You are not going to talk bad to me, though. No, sirree, you're not. So that being said, like people said, well, she should be doing nothing. No, you need to have exercise even when you're pregnant.
Oh, see, no, I'm 100% there with you. I'm only talking about walking the giant dog. If they've been little dogs, that's a totally different. And again, that's such a, like, if I had more information on that, it probably wouldn't even be something I brought up. It's just a question I had. But
well, here, let me try to get you right here. I think it's perfectly acceptable that if a woman is not doing her wifely duties, not pitching in her half of her weight within the relationship, which she didn't even fight back on whenever he brought it up, and you are the sole breadwinner and doing stuff around the house is your only wifely job, you don't work or anything, I'll absolutely take the car away from you.
But so that brings up my second question. And again, I don't know the answer to this. Maybe they were temporarily with one car, but Steven Crowder ain't poor. I find it hard to believe that even if, and I think he is the primary breadwinner. Oh, yeah. I think he's the only one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that odd that they wouldn't have two vehicles. So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that maybe they were down to one because one was in a shop or something. Like, I don't know.
Possibly, but there's also, I mentioned this in my video too, there's also many people who think that it's just not necessary. You know, they just stick to one car.
As often as he's gone, though, that just seems impractical to me.
Yeah, I can actually agree with you on that one. That does seem impractical.
So the whole argument...
I think you win that point right there.
Yeah, I guess to me, the whole argument was so stupid on its face. And you made the point in your video, like, this is other stuff coming out during this seemingly benign happening that's going on.
Yeah.
Like, this is not about the car. This is about their marriage. But
yeah,
like,
this is not some one-time thing. He didn't do this just at random. She didn't walk the dog one time and he throws his tantrum. I know all the feminists and the leftists want to make it seem like it is, but no, this is not it. This is years and years of frustration built up into one argument.
Yeah, 100%. But again, it just seemed to me, and that's probably why, because this is not the first time they've had this exact same argument. Probably had it 100 times. But he just seems so emotional about it. And it's just like, on the surface, it's just like, bro, it's really not that big of a deal. Unless you were right and there was infidelity in the relationship. Then the whole thing changes. The optics of it.
She also hints to it, you know?
Yeah, and she does hint to it. But I guess my whole thing and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I've seen the video. He's talking about him going now, begrudgingly, but he's talking about how he'll go do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, no, she says, I have this and this to do. I have this and this. I'm too tired. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do all this. He's like, okay, I'll go and do this. You go and do this.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because I think the original, I think, and this is part of the video that we didn't see, but see if you agree with me on this. I'm reconstructing kind of what leads into that argument. Sure. It seemed to me like he was planning to go to the store because he needed to get some shit.
Mm-hmm.
But then she said she needed the car to go do some stuff, and she said she would go to the store too. And then he was like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll go ahead and do that, but I need you to walk the dogs. Does that seem like, okay, that seems like, fuck, we're not doing a very good job of disagreeing here, because now when you put it in that context, it seems even more reasonable. But I just keep coming back to how...
Well, the reason that you and I seem to disagree at first is because at first I didn't do as good of a job as I wanted, probably portraying the fact that I agree he's being a jerk off the entire time. And you were right on that, but we don't disagree on that. And you kind of took that as, forgive me if I'm wrong or if you change your mind now, but you, in your first video about it, basically said that he was the one in the majority of the wrong because how much he was a jerk he was being. I was like, no. He's a jerk, but he's not the majority in the wrong.
I don't know that I don't think that, but it's weird because there's so many layers to this, because it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good example because it's very, very easy to give a bad example. So it's kind of like if you've ever known a couple that fucking hated each other, and
believe me, I'm very close to them.
And the wife has spent all day just on his ass about stupid shit, but then he clocks her and knocks her out. She was wrong the majority of the day.
Yeah.
But in the entire situation, he is more wrong because of what he did. If if Steven had played it even just a little bit cooler, I think we would have never seen that video, because there would have been nothing to show except her acting like a complete bitch. But it's because of how emotional he got and how angry he got and how seemingly, not saying it was juvenile, but it looked like it was. And this is all about optics, because we don't have the full context and we never will have. But it surprises me how often, and this just might be just the fact that I grew up very self-conscious, so I'm very aware about how I'm being perceived. And then when you own a business and you're dealing with the public, you have to learn how to do that. So I just might be more self-conscious than the average person, but I'm floored with how people behave in public.
Sure, and it's like, I'm sure you never imagined that video would get out, especially when they're under a gag court order. Like
that's true too. Yeah, so it's not like he was on his guard at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but I guess
he's admitted to making mistakes, like we all should.
But I guess and this lends itself to my paranoia. It's like whenever I know there are cameras somewhere, even in my own house, I don't know. It's just like it's just one of those things. Like I'm conscious that I'm being watched, which it's not a. It's a fact of life. It's a fact of life, but you just have to. I don't remember who told me this, but it's like even behind closed doors, you act as though your mother's watching you.
Yep. Yeah. That's very true. But yeah, like, just like I think us right wingers, and this especially applies to y'all, the more old school, the more religious type of conservatives, which I think you're closer to than I am. But, not by a lot, but by a lot, we have an extra sensitivity to emotional men and men who are raging out or being childish. We have an extra hypersensitivity to that. And whenever we see that being done to a woman in any context, we automatically kind of side with the woman. And that's the problem with Texas. They're that kind of conservative where fuck the men. Yeah, we believe in equal rights, but you're the man. The woman is inferior to you. That's how Texas kind of views it, and a lot of those religious people. Yeah, the woman's inferior to you, bro. So even if she messes up, you still got to be twice the bigger person, and it doesn't matter. You better not yell at her. It doesn't matter if she slapped you. You don't even yell at her. There's a lot of that type, and I don't stand for that.
I think it depends.
I believe in equal rights, equal lefts.
Yeah, you're a little bit more truly egalitarian than me. That's accurate. But I don't even consider myself.
That's what our main disagreement stems from.
Probably, but I don't consider myself a conservative. I just
said more than me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Which that again, YouTube is full. In some ways I love YouTube, and sometimes I roll my eyes because we're on the Average Intelligence podcast. We're all over the map. Like it just depends on the issue, and even especially for me because it just depends. In some areas I'm super fucking liberal, probably more than your average Democrat, and in some areas I'm super fucking conservative, way more than your average Republican.
Yeah.
It just
me
depends.
Personally, I'm like a free range libertarian. Like let whoever do whatever the hell they want to do, but you don't mess with the kids. You do anything towards a kid, you go to jail for life. And we'll execute you and chop your balls off in front of everybody if you do anything even remotely harmful to a child.
Yeah,
that's my type of right wing authoritarianism. But gay couples, anything else y'all want to do, as long as you leave the kids alone, do whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
Yeah, just doesn't do whatever you want. Like in the United States today, it's so funny. We've lost the true definition of the word tolerance. We've confused it with acceptance.
Yeah, no, they're not the same.
No, not
tolerance. Literally means that you put up with something.
Yeah, like the vast majority of these social issues today, truth be told, I just don't care. I just don't want it broadcast.
Yeah,
like, you're an adult in the United States. You can do whatever the fuck you want, so long as you're not hurting or bothering anybody else.
I'll tolerate a drag show as long as there's no kids there, but I don't.
And that's. Man, I'm telling you what, I'm floored at the number of people who are like militantly defending it. Like we had a reel on Instagram. It was a short, and it was basically just like, listen, I understand why you want to defend the right to have drag shows. I get that. That's First Amendment all the way. But why in front of kids?
Like, well, yeah, but that's a question that they can even halfway get around. If it wasn't for the fact, these are facts. Did they ever have them around old people's homes, nursing homes?
I'm sure somewhere. No. I'm sure somewhere they have, but it's not common. No.
And here's the most damning one. When Florida, they used to organize drag shows as protests, and then when Florida put in that bill banning them, literally, all they banned was children being present at the drag shows, and they canceled all the events just because the children couldn't show up.
Right? Yeah.
Y'all are pedophiles.
Yeah, and but there were people in the shorts that were like talking about how it's about freedom of speech, and I'm like, okay, but by virtue of that logic, then we should be taking, kids in those same age groups to strip clubs and burlesque shows.
They're book banning by banning pornography. Like y'all are sad.
I've been lambasted for that one too. There's somebody on TikTok right now that has a massive hate boner for me because they're commenting on like everything now. And I'm just like, well, so now I've started complimenting them in the comments, and that tends to shut them up. But
yeah, when they can't get a reaction out of you, they usually quit.
Yeah, I loved it because they were like, what was the comment they did? They were one. It was like still a lot of nothing because they couldn't say anything negative about what I was saying, but they still wanted to shit on me. So I was like, okay, and here you are watching. There's like, exactly. I just want to make sure nobody watches this. And I'm like, you're doing a great job by watching. And we thank you for your support.
That's one of my favorite things. I'll say something and then someone else say, no one cares. I'm like, you did enough to leave this comment.
I know, right? That's my favorite. When they're like, nobody cares, bro. I'm like, you cared enough to comment. You know what happens when I don't care? I just keep scrolling or turn the phone off. It's not hard.
So I think our disagreement goes to the most limited amount possible, in that you approach things from a little bit more Ben Shapiro-esque thing, and I approach it from a little bit more Tate thing. But we still agree on the basic principles that he was a jerk and that he needed to act better. But yeah, she's probably not doing everything she needs to either.
Yeah, I think I just have a higher self-imposed ethics bar.
Yeah,
and I
do not.
Yeah, and I don't.
Evidenced by my YouTube channel and all my social media, I will troll and say the most lambastic shit, no problem.
But in many ways, that makes you more powerful, though.
Well, bro, is Ben Shapiro getting locked up under false charges by any foreign government?
Valid point. Not. But was Ben Shapiro the most Googled person on Earth?
Exactly.
But it goes without, and it's so funny because we've actually just run a clinic on how, two people who disagree on something, but the more we talk about it, the more we find we're not too far apart. And I'll bet you
that's why they want regressive progressives and and populist right-wingers never to talk to each other.
Oh, that would be dangerous if they started agreeing on shit, now wouldn't it?
Oh man, if you were to put Steve Bannon and Al Sharpton in the same room, there might be some fireworks for a little bit, but then shit, they might come out with a uniform party right there.
Eventually, somebody's going to want
in the room for 3 days. Yeah.
Eventually, somebody's going to want to get lunch.
Exactly. Like that would not be good for how it's divide and conquer. It's the same old crap every time.
But that's what frustrates the fuck out of me, though. It's like there are so many, and the right's done this before too, but these days it really is more on the left than anywhere else. Is like I've had so many people where I'm like, come on the podcast and talk about it. We do it live. I can't edit you. I can't. You can get me. Like if you're that, if you're that sure of your position, you can have a live gotcha moment. I can't edit that.
Did you see the one guy who got wrecked so bad in a debate that he had to go to the emergency room?
No,
I'll send you a link about that.
Oh, yeah.
The cliche, Black Libby, he literally made the argument that I think it was 18 million, something in the millions, 18 million Black people were being shot every year by the police. He got eviscerated, and he's so bad that he had to go to the hospital.
Wouldn't that be like, I don't even know, I'd have to look that up, but I think
they would be genocided within a matter of years. Yeah.
Well, I think more like one, because what's this? I think the percentage of the American population that is African American is like 12%.
Something like that. Yeah.
And there's roughly let's call it 350 million. I think that's slightly high.
Yeah.
But so 350 million.
So you have about
42 million.
Yeah, 40 million, yeah. But
okay.
That's the argument he made of about 10 million every day. Because he used
10 million every day?
No, every year, sorry. But that was the argument he made. He tried to say just a general percentage of this much Black people are shot and killed every year by police, and he just got eviscerated, and his snowflakeness made him have a heart attack, basically.
Yeah, well, I would say if the numbers were truly that high, then the vast majority of the American public would actually see one of these in person.
Right. Like cell phone recordings don't exist and go viral even when they're completely justified shoots.
Yeah.
We would see an innocent one.
Yeah, but occasionally you'll hear a number like that. You just hear it and you call bullshit, but then you find out it's legit. Not those kind of numbers, but that's always an interesting. It's like, oh, that is true. That's fucking weird.
Hey, bro, since we almost, covered every topic that would get you banned, I got to go in a little bit. This has been a great conversation, but I'm going to leave you with a little tidbit. This is something that no other conservative I've ever heard use, and it's one of my own things. One of my favorite things Ann Coulter stole from me, and it sucks, but, whatever. This is something that I'm going to trademark and patent right here on everybody else. I mentioned in my videos, and you're going to be witness. What's the one thing stopping the KKK and every other noted white supremacist from going and lynching Black men at random like they used to back in the olden days? What's the only thing stopping them?
Fear of reprisal, I would say, whether it be by the law or the general population, or fear of being stopped.
And who enforced the law?
The police and or the local community.
And which party wants to ban the police?
Oh, yeah, the Democratic Party.
Ergo, they want to get rid of the police to do what?
Go
back to lynching Black men like they used to without any fear of consequence. It is the most ABC logical thing you can do. What's the one thing stopping us from lynching all these Black men like we used to have fun back in the day doing? Oh, the police. Oh, well, let's make the Black people ban the police in their neighborhoods. Then we can do whatever we want. It's so simple. Y'all are numbnuts.
Well, and to channel my inner Ben Shapiro, it's a fact that, if you look at actual crime statistics, the way to fight violent crime is to actually increase police presence. That's why Rudy Giuliani did a number in New York City in the 1990s when he went with the broken windows policy. Yeah.
But it's so serious. Like I have been able to stop so many liberals
with
that line of logic. Yeah, it's such a beautiful line. What's the only thing stopping them?
Well, one of my favorite ones though is when you're like, listen, man, all I want you to do is denounce the Triple K.
Yeah.
And then they don't do it.
They don't do it.
Which is the same thing they did against Trump. Like, can you disavow the Proud Boys and white supremacists? Except he did it like 4 or 5 times.
The first thing I would do in any debate with any Democrat thing, I was like, will you denounce the Democratic group of the KKK? Anything but a certified yes means you support them. Watch them stutter all over themselves and be like, called it.
Well, it's so weird because there's actually a very, very easy out for that. It's like, yes, the KKK was originally founded by Southern Democrats. We're not that way anymore. That's all you got to say. Like, of course I disavow the KKK because although I think there is a little bit of narcissist egoism in there when people say things like they assume, like, let's take a typical white liberal today, that if you had been alive in the South in 1860, you probably would have, not everybody in the South was pro-slavery, not everybody was a Confederate, but the vast majority were. Mm-hmm. The example Jordan Peterson uses is that, like if you were in Germany in the 1930s, you probably would have been a Nazi.
Yeah, that's natural.
Yeah, because, I mean, humans are tribal.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the problem for Democrats right now is that most of them profess that the big switch happened around the late 1970s. That's when they usually say it happened. And there is no other – people try to use other times, but those have even less basis in any kind of myth form or legend or anything like that. Typically, it's in the late 1970s. The problem is that literally your current president was in politics in the early 70s and was a segregationist, talking about racial jungles and everything like that if they unified the schools. Like, their own current president debunks the whole big switch, the strategy BS myth. So, yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Because I know Biden got unjustly attributed.
No, he didn't.
Not for that. I don't know about that one. There was one where it was making the rounds. Like, see, I told you Biden's racist, when he was actually quoting somebody and he was actually fighting against that. But I believe you're right. The example you're citing, I believe Biden.
Yeah, the racial jungle one that Kamala Harris pointed it out in the debate, but she left out the racial jungle part. But he was a segregationist back in the early 70s.
You can help me with something, because I was making a short the other day. And basically what I'd said on our podcast, and again, this goes back to I'm a stickler for accuracy. I had said on the podcast, I was like, yeah, and everybody forgot about that time that Kamala Harris called Joe Biden a racist on national television. Dude, I can't find the clip anywhere.
I'll find it.
Okay, here's the thing. I looked everywhere, dude. I couldn't find it on Rumble. I couldn't find it anywhere. And then there's articles talking about, it's like, Kamala Harris didn't call Joe Biden a racist. I'm like, man, I remember because I laughed my ass off.
All right, here's what you have to do, bro. And I'm not trying to be patronizing or anything like that. All you have to do is go to the whole live stream debate, download it, and then cut that part out. That's the only way you can do it.
That's what I was going to do. I didn't have time to do it right then, but I haven't deleted that short. I still have it because I'm like, I know it happened, man. I was watching it live, and I laughed my fucking ass off.
Mm-hmm. It was hurtful.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm like, literally, dude, like, if you're watching this, try Googling it. You will not find it.
It's amazing how YouTube curates the results on all this stuff.
Oh, dude, I felt legitimately gaslit.
Try finding the clip where Fauci directly says he lied to the American people to keep masks in the hands of doctors. Try finding that clip. You will never find it.
You won't.
I have it, but I don't put it on YouTube.
Well, I've started to, because there have been moments now. I'm going to start saving that shit when I see it. Like, you have to, because it's our responsibility as Americans to keep that history, because there's no denying it. They're censoring everything. They're curating results. They're censoring everything. Big tech, big government. They're all fucking each other. Like, they're all fucking each other and exchanging money. Like,
I'm so glad you loved that Little Mermaid review, bro. Those memes were such fire. I was not ready for those memes, though. The knee. Oh my God. Dang.
Actually, what was cracking me up the most was when you gave her credit for her feet.
Bro, like, I Googled her age beforehand. So, like, no. All right. You know what? I said this is almost over, but you know what? I'm gonna drop a little. We're going to talk about women now. We're going to talk about racial differences. This is going to be fun. I don't know what your experiences are, but I've had all of and lots of all of them. I have no problem admitting that, of course, I have much more experience than white women and Mexican women because they tend towards their groups much more. But I've had plenty of black women, especially in my younger days, Asian women, all that stuff. It's interesting because I wanted to say this in my video, but I didn't want to go on too long of a rant. It would have just, overloaded the video, and it would have, people would have taken it out of context and stuff like that. Black women, they can shake, and they have curves that no one else can match, even if they look the same. I'm telling you, their skills are off the charts. I honestly believe that it has to do with the little bit of more adrenaline that they have in their system per capita than the average white person or any other race. They have a little bit more adrenaline within them, and that's why a lot of people, a lot of, race politic debaters, they say, oh, well, that's why they're good at sports. I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. Even if it does measure out to the extremes, why the prison population would be more, because it's always measured in extremes. But even if that isn't true, it could be related to culture. But it actually makes a little bit of sense, because most black women, even though they have the curves and they also have the will, they're the most pleasers out of any other race, in my opinion. They want to please men more than anybody, which is why they learn all those moves to begin with and everything. Believe me, as someone who's gone through it, I know, they're very good about that stuff. But that being said, that same thing is a catch-22 for them, which usually means that they have bigger hands and feet than the average woman. And it's disgusting. I hate that shit. Now, I have a small foot fetish, and most black women's feet, just know they have pros and cons. And I'm just saying those are the pros and cons for all of them. White women, boy, they can be some of the best and most uptight and everything, but oh man, they can also be some of the most trashy. Oh my God. Mexican women can be some of the finest women on the planet, but they can also be some of the ugliest, dirtiest, just gross. And just Asian women, they're good, they're pleasers, but they're also freaking crazy, man. I don't know why, but they just don't operate on the same level that us Americans do. They just don't have it. I don't know what's with them, bro. They just don't operate on the same level. So there's pros and cons to everything, but oh my God. So for me to say that a black woman has good feet is a huge compliment. That's like a unicorn.
I was rolling. And I was even the whole time I'm like, well, Sosa, tell me you have a foot fetish without saying you have a foot fetish.
Oh, I'll tell everybody. I got a small foot fetish. There are definitely worse than me, but I can't stand ugly feet. I will not be with a girl.
I'm not about shaming anybody, but there are people you just see in passing where it's just like, you might want to dial that back a bit, bro. It's getting a little creepy with the feet.
Bro, I've seen some fine black women. Oh my God, just they'll knock your socks off, and the way that they can move and please you, and just, but man, them feet, just no, can't do it. Sorry, man. You ever seen Shallow Hal?
Oh God, a long time ago.
Shallow Hal, you remember that dude? He talked about that fine ass woman, but had that big ugly middle toe, that stuck out longer than the rest of them. Bro, that's me. I can't do that shit, man. Can't do it.
Holy shit. I forgot all about that.
And Jack Black was looking at him like he crazy. He's just like, I can't do it, man. Can't do it. I'm like, I don't blame you, bro.
It's like, I get
it's true though, and black women are usually a little bit taller on average. It's the same thing, So there's pros and cons to everything, man. It's always fun talking about the differences. Really, I love going out with a black woman who is not afraid to talk about racial differences like Cat Williams and joke about them. That is the funnest shit in the world, man. Man, it is the best.
I was once told by a Hispanic girl that she never dated white men because she thought that we were all bland.
Bro, but let me tell y'all something. I'm gonna say the same thing for men. I ain't gonna hate on women. I'm gonna say the same thing for men. Mexican men have smaller dicks on average and are usually shorter stature on average. That being said, because of those differences, because of those limitations that Mexican men actually have, we are the most romantic motherfuckers ever. We know how to soiree a woman like no one else, no other race can even come close to us. So with that being said, anytime a Mexican woman goes out with a white man, she's usually really bored.
Well, not all the time.
No, I'm not saying, but I love me getting me with a black woman or something like that, because then they're looking at you like, all right, white boy, prove it to me. And I'm like, all right, you're gonna see some crazy shit, and I'll be like slapping them and just throwing them across the room. They're like, all right, this is the white boy I was told about. I was like, yeah. You can't just regular fuck a black chick, or else she's gonna go back with every other black dude, because they're more comfortable with their own race out of any other demographic. So you have to give them something different. Spit in their mouth. No, the man. Just don't pull on their hair. I made that mistake one time. My first black girl. That was a bad mistake. Don't pull on their hair. Don't do it. Grab their shoulders.
Well, now that we're banned.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, I don't
You
care.
also have to learn to use the thumb and roll up the rest of their butt cheeks so you can get deeper in there. Roll it up. And then go for it. There you go. You got a good grip on it now.
Now you're trying to get me banned.
No, I'm just being real. Like that's one of the minor problems of being with a black woman is they're so curvy. You know, you have a hard time getting them guts. That's why I like some of them skinny white women. I don't want nothing in the way of me getting them guts. I want to hurt her.
Getting them guts. Oh,
I ain't got nothing. I ain't got no thighs, no nothing, no butt getting in my way. I just bam.
The path, the path is clear.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I might miss them curves. I might miss looking and grabbing on them. But man, that ego feed I'm gonna get whenever I get into all them the guts, it makes it all worth it, bro.
Well, you heard it here, folks.
Why do you think them black dudes like white women so much, bro?
Andrew, the Brickball Sosa, likes to get in them guts.
Yeah, I'm all about ego feed. Fuck your big ass. I love the big ass. I love grabbing on it, but I'll take the ego feed any day.
Well, in closing, is there anything more you would like to add about any of the topics we discussed?
I just also want to say, bro, that, you know, people, it might be a little bit funny having me on, but I'm going to get you the most attention out of anyone else too.
Hopefully. But no, that's the point of this podcast. It's just I'll have on anybody. We'll talk about anything. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, we Joe Rogan it up for about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to do it, because I just like having long ass stupid conversations that can go anywhere.
I'll give you plenty of clips to draw out.
100%. And also feel free to use this and clip it up.
Of course I will. I will.
But yeah, in closing, everybody, be sure to check out Extreme Knockouts. Do they have a new card announced or a next pay-per-view date?
The card is not officially announced, but they already have a date, July 28th.
July 28th is next pay-per-view. I highly recommend you buy it, watch it, because the fights will be tremendous.
I'm going to be on there. I'm fighting Sonny Luque, an old MMA rival of mine. He beat me in an MMA fight, but I actually almost knocked him out in the first, but then I got too close, and he grinded me out the rest of the round with his superior experience. But now I've got him in a Muay Thai match. None of that grappling stuff. I'm going to knock him out.
I was going to ask if it was Muay Thai or MMA, but...
yeah, Muay Thai.
And actually, you can... I think you uploaded it on your YouTube channel. You can see the highlight of Sosa's spinning backhand from hell.
Yep, it's on my community tab right now. And then whenever we get the fully uploaded professional edited version, which will come out in probably like 3 to 5 days or something, I'll have that on the YouTube. So make sure the bell's hit on all after you sub.
I was going to say, if you go ahead and just subscribe, you'll get notified when that video drops, and you won't have to think about it. Much like you should
have all my people subscribe to your channel as well.
Say, much like if you enjoyed this podcast.
All my family... on the podcast that y'all do with Eric and stuff, I know for a fact that at least a couple people did, but also all my family does, and they drop y'all likes every once in a while, you know, on there if they like the subject. So at least all my family going to support, and probably a few others.
Well, we appreciate that. And like I said, if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel as well. Make sure you check out Sosa's channel. Great content, hilarious content, and you'll learn a little something about interracial relations.
Oh man, they're the best. You just have to have someone who doesn't have a stick up their ass about it. If they don't, if they're just there to have fun, man, that's the best.
Well, right on, buddy. You gotta get going, but it was a lot of fun. Love to have you on again sometime. Check out his fights, like, subscribe, and share all of it. And we will see you guys on the next one. Until then, be safe and use protection.